All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the UCLA School of Nursing Fall 2023 application cycle for the MSN-MECN program. Can't believe we're already getting ready to start the application process and recruiting for next fall. But at the same time, it's really exciting. And I'm happy that you guys are here to join me today as well. So my name is Mark Coven. I am the Director of Recruitment, Outreach, and Admission here at the UCLA School of Nursing, and you'll see my colleague, Nelly Asensio.
Hello, everyone.
Here with us. And we are also missing one of our colleagues, who is Jamie Gama. So she's not here with us today. But the three of us, we love to call ourselves the A-Team. You might have heard that before, but we are going to be the team that is in charge of the application process. So one of the slides, you'll see our contact information. So we'll be happy to contact you, or you can contact us in the future as you guys are getting ready to apply. But the purpose of today is we want to make sure that we can share specific information that is regarding to our pre-licensure master's entry clinical nurse program. Okay, so it is pre-license, meaning you guys are going to enter our program before you receive your license. Upon graduating, then you'll be able to sit for the NCLEX to receive your RN license. But we call the program MECN for short, so it's an acronym that we use. I'm not sure if you know, but UCLA, we love to use acronyms. It's a lot easier for the language and for speaking. And so MECN will be what you would want to call it as you're talking to your friends and family. But first and foremost, we want you to know that this is a fast-paced, full-time master's program. And remember, it is a master's, so it is an MSN. So everyone out there, I'm assuming you guys are either an undergraduate, or I'm sorry, you are a graduate from an undergraduate program, or you are in the midst of completing your undergraduate program. But it has to be in another discipline. So you may have and/or will be completing your bachelor's degree in sociology, in English, in history, in psychology. It can even be something of a science, if it's chemistry, biology, and so forth. So as long as you do not have a BSN, so a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, you'll be eligible for this program. And at the end, as you go through the first, well, I'm sorry, not the first, but as you go through the program and graduate within 2 years, you'll be able to sit for the NCLEX, which is the Registered Nurse Licensing Exam. Okay, so upon completing the program, then you'll be able to sit for the boards. This program does have a CNO focus, which is a clinical nurse leader. So at the end, you will also be able to take an exam to receive your clinical nurse leader certification. And we also have a public health certification as well. So for those of you that may be interested in our SIMS lab, definitely go ahead and take a screenshot of this or write down the YouTube link. And when you guys get a chance after the session, we would like for you to take a look at it. It does a really good job of really depicting what it looks like to be a student in our skills lab as it prepares you to get into a clinical setting, right? And so we have real life mannequins in our SIMS lab that replicate a hospital setting. And so our nursing students are going to be able to get a good experience, right, before they jump into dealing with real patients. And so our mannequins, they do everything from talking, they bleed, they give birth, everything you can think of, they do it. And it's a real life simulation. And we feel that really does help our students as they get into the first clinical rotations and as they move forward. So definitely take a look at this. It's not super long, it's just a few minutes long. But I think you guys will really get a good sense of what we have to offer for our students. Okay, so the Master's Entry Clinical Nurse, right? Or MECN is what we'll call it. So like I was stating before, this program is designed for students who have a bachelor's degree who will be entering the nursing profession. Now remember, you're going to have your bachelor's degree at the time of application, or you may have it in progress, but you will need to have your bachelor's degree completed before you start our program in the fall. All right. Again, this is a 2-year full-time program, so it's about 22 months in length, which includes the summer in between your first and second year. Okay. Also, we are on a quarter system, and our quarters work every 10 weeks. So you start the program in the fall, which is our fall quarter. Then you'll go from fall quarter to winter quarter, winter to spring. That will be considered your first academic year. And then you'll go ahead and complete the summer quarter in between the first and second, and then you start your second year. So you'll go ahead and start year 2 with fall, winter, and then you'll finish up in the spring. So it's 7 quarters. What you will see here is that we admit 70 students into the program. In the past several years, the number of applicants have been increasing, but we are right around the 600 mark of applications. So we receive, let's say, about 600 applications for 70 slots. I know the next question you guys may ask is there a waiting list? So yes, there is a waiting list. So we admit our initial 70, and then we can have a wait list anywhere between 25 to about 35, depending on the year. For those of the initial 70 who we send out the admissions letter, if they decline, then what we'll do is we'll go to the wait list. The wait list is also rank ordered at the same time. And so for those that do make the wait list, they will be notified what their number is, and they'll be given the opportunity to stay on the wait list or not. And now the next follow-up question might be, how far down the wait list do you get? That does depend, or not depend, but it differs from year to year. But in the last several years, we've been getting into the high teens and close to the 20 mark, 20-ish number mark. But that's just what it's been like for the past couple of years. So we don't know what it's going to look like for the next year. But again, just to let you know, we do admit students from the wait list. So what does a typical MECN student look like? So again, these are just some numbers and some stats to throw out there for you, but it doesn't mean these are, I guess, the stats that we're looking for that we want to replicate, right? It just differs from year to year. But if you're thinking about an age, obviously we can get those that graduate at 23 or maybe even younger, 21, 22, and enter the MECN program straight from graduating from the undergrad program. And then we also have it for people that have been in another career for X amount of years, all right? And so speaking about different careers, we have a wide variety of students that enter our MECN program. So we have these two gentlemen here. We have Patrick, who's on the left, and Brandon on the right. They are actually ex-football players. Brandon on the right played at UC Davis, and Patrick on the left played at the University of Miami, right? And so they, always had a calling to want to become nurses, and they've gone through our master's program, and they're both doing well. Patrick, I believe, is now, starting or is in an F&P program, and Brandon is looking into CNA programs. So they're both doing well. But we also have individuals who were musicians. We've had individuals who were actors. And so, yeah, they come from a wide variety of areas. And we think that is what really makes our program cool. For gender, of course, it's most likely going to be, predominant female just because of the number of applications that we receive. But we are from year to year getting a really strong showing in terms of what our males are doing. The average GPA, which you see here, is a 3.47. It's always around 3.5. And that does come from your cumulative, okay? Probably 3-4 years ago, UCLA Graduate Division used to have us calculate GPAs for your last 60 semester units or last 90 quarter units, but they went ahead and changed that, and it's cumulative. So it's going to be your graduating GPA, right? So that last quarter, that last semester you finish off with, that's going to be the GPA that we look at. One thing to think about is it doesn't matter if you're a UC, a Cal State, or maybe another public institution or a private institution across the country, no one has priority over the other. Okay, so that's one thing to think about. Doesn't matter if you were even a UCLA undergraduate. You are not going to have a priority of admissions over the next person. And I kind of touched upon it in terms of like the variety of different work experience and volunteer experience. So I mentioned people coming from different backgrounds, but this particular to healthcare and nursing, we can get individuals who come from all over, right? So, or not come from all over, well, they do come from all over, but their experience comes from all over. And that could be them being CNAs or EMTs or LVNs who've done X amount of hours of shadowing, who've gone back into the community, who've volunteered abroad, mission trips, think of things of that nature, those who may be working as like a phlebotomist, working as an ER tech, someone who's worked in research. I can go on and on and on. But there's not one particular type of experience that we're looking for. And I think that's the best thing about this MECN program, is that we're going to have individuals who have all different types of experience, who come from different backgrounds. And I think this is what makes our program so appealing. All right. With that, I do see some questions, and I know Natalie has been answering some of these, but I will pause because I see one here. And someone is asking, for individuals who wish to pursue a career as an NP in the future, do you recommend the MECN program? So do I recommend the MECN program? I will always recommend the MECN program, because you can become an NP if you complete a master's entry program, and you can also become an NP if you complete an accelerated BSN program. So it's really just up to you in terms of what path you want to take, but either one can get you to becoming an NP. So that is a good question. Okay, so a lot of people ask, why UCLA? And it's not rhetorical, right? But we really want you to know that we feel we have the requisite resources to make sure, that you think that this is a program for you. I always like to give this quick example in terms of what a small community within a big city looks like, right? And so one is UCLA. If you've ever stepped foot on campus, we are pretty much like our own community within the big Los Angeles city limits. And so we think it's the same thing here in the School of Nursing. But let me back up. Now, when we talk about UCLA as its own community, we have our own police department. We have our own transportation. We have campus housing, off-campus housing for our graduate students. I always say we have the world's biggest grocery store. So we have that. We have retail stores. We have restaurants and places to eat. We pretty much have everything you need to be able to live comfortably, and also be able to have everything you need in terms of being able to succeed, right? Because you don't want to have to go way off campus to get something to eat, or go way off campus to do laundry, or whatever the case is, right? But the same thing can also be said in the School of Nursing. So for in the School of Nursing, we have about 600 plus students, right? So we're relatively small. So we feel we're our own community within the big campus of UCLA. But why do I say a community? We have everything you need. So if you go down to that third bullet in terms of resources, it should say for our graduate students. We have them for our undergraduate students, but we also have them for our graduate students as well. But we have specialty coaches. So we have specialty coaches who are people who've graduated through the program, who have come back to volunteer and dedicate their time to our current students. We have faculty advisors. You will have clinical advisors and clinical preceptors. You will have a student service coordinator. You will have a mentorship program that we have. So you'll have a mentor, meaning, so as you enter your first year in the MECN program, what we do is we'll match you up with the second year. And there'll be someone that, you befriend, but someone that can also, give you some insight in terms of how to maneuver and matriculate through the program, how to study. They can pass down scrubs, books, whatever the case is. So we have that. We have what's called a safe zone, which is an opportunity for you to speak to a staff member if there's things that are happening personally in your life, and or things that are happening in the school. So we have tons of different resources that I can keep naming, but we feel these are all things that help guide our students to be successful. Okay, so that's one thing that I really want to mention. And I do think with that, US News and World Reports does see that, right? And so they do have us as one of the top ranking nursing schools. One thing to think about, which might be on one of the next slides, is the UCLA Ronald Reagan Medical Center, right, which is the #1 hospital west of the Mississippi as well. So you're going to be getting the best teaching, and you're going to be getting the best clinical experience. So the combination of the two, we feel, is going to make you successful once you graduate. Okay, so here are some things to think about. The admission deadline, okay? So the application will open up after Labor Day. Okay, so Labor Day is next month. So it's gonna be about the first week of September. So the application is coming up, but you're not gonna have to submit it that first day. You have until November 1st. Okay, so you have a little less than 2 months to do so. All right. I'm gonna, actually not me, Natalie's gonna go over the admissions process. So that's gonna be really fun. And I know one thing that she'll be going over is the prerequisites, because I know you guys will have some questions about that. And one thing we also want you to know is that there is a big difference between undergraduate and graduate level work, right? So I know there are some questions where people are like, hey, will I be receiving, undergraduate degree and a master's? No, because you already have your undergraduate degree. And so this program will prepare you for you to graduate and receive your master's. Okay, so with that, there's going to be more clinical hours that are involved. There's going to be more critical thinking that's involved. There's going to be tons of things that the BRN and the CCNE have provided us in terms of accreditation to make sure that your degree is going to be at the graduate level work. You will have to be here for classes, right? In the days that clinicals are scheduled. So I'll be going over that in the next couple of slides as well, in terms of how many days a week you'll be coming. But when we say full time, that also means we have a set curriculum. Okay, so we will be telling you what days you're supposed to come, right? And the times and so forth. So it's a little bit different from undergrad where you get to pick your schedule, pick your times and so forth. Okay, so we'll go with the goals of the program. One thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we can educate and provide a new workforce of RNs. Okay, so that is the main goal, is to make sure that you come in here and you can have a bunch of knowledge, or you can come in with not enough or less knowledge than maybe your counterpart or your classmate. But at the end, we're going to make sure that you're educated, that you're going to be able to provide, not experience, but training as an RN. And that could be bedside if you're in a hospital or clinical setting, if you want to be a travel nurse, or any other type of profession that is nursing related. We also want to make sure that you are going to be able to provide clinical experience, but as a clinical leader, right? So I mentioned the CNO model. One of the big things that we pride ourselves on is making sure that we are putting out there a cohort of leaders. So it's going to have a CNO focus. We also want to make sure that our graduates are going to be well prepared to deal with high acuity and high tech settings. Okay, so all these logos that you see here are going to be hospitals that we're partnered with. And if not all of them are going to be magnet teaching hospitals. So of course, I mentioned UCLA Health, which is Ronald Reagan, as well as Santa Monica. But pretty much we'll send you as far down south, which is Torrance Memorial down to 405, and up the 405 north to Northridge Hospital Medical Center, which is Dignity Health. So you see the things, not the things, but the hospitals in between. So we'll send you to VA, Cedars, Good Samaritan. There's Kaiser, which is not on here, so you can go to Kaiser. There's St. John's, there's CHLA, which is a children's hospital, and also Mattel, which is at the UCLA Health, which is a children's hospital as well. And so what we want to do is make sure that you can get your clinical rotations and your clinical experiences throughout these different hospitals, right? We don't want you to just be stuck at one hospital. Each hospital has a different way of going about it. We want you to get familiar with the setting, with the floors, and so that at the time of graduation, you'll be applying to these hospitals, and even before you pass your NCLEX, you'll hopefully have a job offer. Okay, so here are some frequent Q&As that people ask, and so I'm hoping that I'll be able to go over some of these and answer some questions. But if not, I know you guys have been answering some questions and putting them in the Q&A, and I know Natalie has been answering them, but I will also go back into them and I will restate them and answer them for those that are unable to attend today as well. So I'll make sure to do that. But the minimum GPA is a 3.0. Okay, so I know I mentioned earlier what the average was for the students that were admitted into the program, but the minimum is a 3.0, as I stated. UCLA Graduate Division changed that, where they looked at the last 2 years of your undergraduate degree, but now it is cumulative. Now, I know you guys may ask, what if my GPA is not at a 3.0? You can still apply to the program, okay? You can still apply, and in years past, we have admitted students who have a GPA under a 3.0. One thing to think about, though, is if you have already graduated from your program, you will not be able to boost your GPA. Okay, so what does that mean? If you graduated and you're going back, maybe as a post-bac or just to take some prerequisites, that does not go into your GPA. All right, so think about that. As soon as you graduate, your GPA is pretty much set in stone. But if you do not like where your GPA stands, or maybe under a 3.0, that's where the prerequisites are going to come in. So Natalie, again, is going to go over what all those are. But if you receive, high grades in those prerequisites, that can let our admissions committee know that you're a stronger student now than when you completed your undergraduate degree. Okay, so think about that. Next question is, when will admission decisions be made? So again, with our deadline being November 1st, our goal is to notify students by the end of February. Okay, so it may seem like a long time. It goes by really fast. And for us in the admissions office, it's a quick turnaround. So again, our goal is to make sure that you're notified at least by the end of February. Is there a wait list? Yes, so I mentioned there is a wait list, right? So again, we'll admit our initial 70 students, and then what we'll do is we'll create a wait list, and then for the initial 70 that say no, we will then go to the wait list there. One thing that may be another question that people throw out there is, does the wait list, does it go to the following year? It does not. So the wait list is only for the year that you applied. So for any reason you were put onto the wait list that did not make it off the wait list, you would have to reapply for the next year. Okay, so think about that. Do students defer, right, for the next year? So this is always a tricky question because prior to the pandemic, UCLA Graduate Division did not allow students to defer. But for the last 3 admission cycles, this has been the case, right? So it happened for 2020, 2021, and then this year for 2022. So students do have the ability to defer, okay? And so we can defer it up to a year. So if anyone was admitted this year, they still have the opportunity to defer for fall 2023. How often do you admit into the program? So we admit once a year. So we admit for every fall. We don't have a spring, we don't have a winter, and we don't have a summer admission. So it will be fall admission only. Is graduate housing available? Yes, we do have graduate housing. It's going to be considered off campus, but it's still going to be in Westwood, right? So there is graduate housing in Westwood. They consider it off campus, but it's still walking distance to the campus and to the School of Nursing. There is also graduate housing that is in the Los Angeles area. So if you are familiar with LA, there's graduate housing in Palms, as well as Culver City. And Mar Vista, no, Mar Vista, yes, Mar Vista. So they're all kind of the surrounding cities. So there is graduate housing available, there's family housing available as well. What is the retention rate? So we're always in the 90 percentile, which is really good, is that the students that we start off with, that we admit, over 90% of them will move into the second year and will end up graduating. There could be an instance where it does take a student to graduate, but it will take 3 years. But majority of our students will graduate within the 2-year time frame. And how do the students do on the NCLEX? I think this is a really good question, not only for you to know here about the UCLA School of Nursing, but it should be about the other programs that you are going to be interested in as well. Okay, and so we are also in the 90 percentile. Last year, we had 100% first time pass rate. Okay, so that was something that we're really happy about and that we pride ourselves on. We're still waiting to hear back about the NCLEX pass rate for this year because students are actually starting to take them now. We've had students that have started taking them towards the end of July, and we have students that are starting to take them now in this month of August. Okay, so we're hoping to get some information back for that. I'm going to pause and see if I can answer some questions here because I know there's going to be some good ones here. Okay. Here's a good question. So if someone deferred admission, does that affect the amount of students that you admit for the next year? Yes, it does. So we can only admit 70 students per year. So if we have any students that are going to decide to defer, and again, they have until the start of the program to choose so, that will decrease the number of new admits for the following year. Okay, so yes, that is a possibility. Let's see here. Just looking through to see if there's some good questions. Some of these looks like I answered. Okay, so someone is asking about GPA in terms of a science GPA and the prerequisite GPA. Are they counted separately? And so the answer is no. And so we do not look at them separately, nor do we actually calculate a GPA for the prerequisites. So the only GPA we will be looking at is your undergraduate GPA. Okay, so prerequisites do not have a GPA. We just want to make sure that they are passed with a C or better, but we do not calculate a GPA. So that is a good question there. And thank you, Natalie, for answering that in the text. Let's see. So someone is asking what type of work experience can make your application stronger. And so I just kind of listed off in the beginning of the session the different type of experiences that individuals will have. But there's not one that's going to make your application stronger than the other because of what your experience is. Okay, and so you have to remember that all experiences is different, but it's really going to be what you get out of it, right? So how are you going to be able to articulate what you've done, what you've learned, and how you feel that it's helped prepared you, right, to get into a nursing program. So again, right, you can volunteer at your local clinic, your local hospital, you can shadow nurses, you can receive some type of certification. That's going to be up to you, but it's really going to be the experience that you get from it. All right, let's see. Someone is asking a question. If we are admitted into the program, how long do we have to notify UCLA if you're accepted? That will be part of the admissions letter that you receive. That does differ from year to year. And so I can't give you a definite answer on that, but you do have a significant amount of time to decide if you want to enter or start the program. Is graduate student housing costs similar to renting on your own? That's tough. I'm not sure if you live here in Los Angeles, but if you do, rent is sky high. Okay, depending on where you live, your rent can be $2,000 or it could be $4,000, right? So depending on where you live here on the west side, it just depends. But to my knowledge, I do think the graduate housing is comparable to the cost of living, and it can be cheaper. Then again, if you want to live, you know, some type of high rise that has a pool and a gym and things like that. But yeah, the graduate housing is affordable. I will say that. Okay, and I'll answer one more, and then we'll continue moving forward. Someone is asking, I'm not really sure what the specific question is, but I'm going to try to decipher this because it's a transcript question. So that will be answered. Natalie will be going over that, but I'll just answer it really fast. We do require transcripts from the institutions where you graduated from, as well as where you completed your prerequisites. Okay, so that will be talked about shortly. Okay, so I'm going to go over the curriculum a little bit and dive into that. But if you haven't already, the same website and link to where you signed up or RSVP'd for today's info session, there is an info packet. Okay, so if you want to, or if you haven't already, go back to the website and scroll down and you'll see the MECN info session packet. There you'll be able to download it, and it's going to have an actual sample course sequence of what it will actually look like from quarter to quarter, from year to year. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about the clinical experiences, okay? So year one, as you see, your clinical experience is not going to start, or your first rotation is not going to start until winter quarter. So your fall quarter, you're not going to have, fall quarter of your first year, I should say, you're not going to have any clinical rotations. That won't start until winter quarter. So for winter and spring quarter, you're going to do med-surg, okay? Then you're going to follow up with summer. As you remember, you're going to have to do a summer quarter. For that rotation, it's going to be mental health. And then you're going to start year two, which is going to be your peds and maternity. And then winter quarter is what we call immersion. So what immersion is at this point, there's not going to be any theory or classroom work, but at this time, you're going to be selecting a hospital of your choice and a floor of your choice. And in there, what we're going to do is we're going to ask for you to do a project in terms of what you would want to do to implement to help that floor. Okay, so if there's something that you think that floor needs assistance on or can do better, you're going to create a project around that. At the end of the quarter, you are going to present it to the floor. But along with the project, you're also going to be doing your 10 to 12-hour shifts. So it's going to be a real simulation in terms of what it's going to be like to be a nurse. Because you'll be with your preceptor and you'll be working with them and real patients. Okay, so that's what immersion is. And then you're going to come ahead and finish off your last quarter, which is spring, in public health. So it does go by really fast. Remember, it's 7 quarters, 10 weeks. And so the program does go by really, really fast. Okay, so I was talking a little bit about in terms of the sample course sequence that you guys can download on your own, because what you'll see here are just the acronyms. But if you download it, it will actually tell you what those specific courses mean. I just wanted to show you exactly what it looks like to be a full-time student. So as you see, there's going to be what 16, 17 units, and that's already for year 1. One thing you'll notice are the amount of courses that you'll be taking. All right, and then these also incorporate the clinical rotations. All right, clinical rotation, clinical rotation. All right, so if we go back, we'll talk about time management. Okay, so UCLA, what we say is for every unit that is taken or that is required for you to complete, we want you to dedicate at least 3 hours of work. Okay, so again, if you have 14 units, what UCLA says is that you should devote at least 42 hours of studying, if that's in or outside the classroom. Now, again, you guys are all graduates, right, of an undergraduate program. And so you know what it takes to be successful at that level, which could work at the graduate level, right? But it could be different. But you do know what it takes to succeed. And so it doesn't mean that you have to study the exact 42. You may have to do more, you may have to do less. But UCLA feels this is a good barometer in terms of what it'll be like for you to be successful. Okay, so before Natalie starts with the application process, just because I did Zoom pretty fast through that, we are going to answer a couple more questions before she gets started. So let's see here. Someone is asking, as a CNA with a bachelor's degree, can you receive live credits? No. So that is a good question, but there are no coursework that is transferred into the MECN program. So you will have to complete the full curriculum in order to graduate. Let's see here. Are online prerequisites taken during the summer/fall of 2022? Okay, that's a good question. Or do you guys prefer in-person at colleges and since they're moving back to, I guess, in-person? I think that's what you're asking. So to answer your question, you can complete courses that are online or in person, but they have to come from an accredited institution. Okay, so that's basically the main thing I'll say. And you do have this summer, which is almost over, and then you have this fall semester/quarter to complete your prerequisites. So again, Natalie will talk about that. Sorry, I'm answering some of those questions now, but you do have until the end of December to complete your prerequisites. So yes, courses can be in progress while you apply, which just have to be completed by the end of this fall semester. She's also going to go over the prerequisites in terms of the expiration. So I'm going to skip over that question. Okay, here's a good one. What makes the MECN program unique compared to an accelerated BSN? So what I will say is what makes our MECN program unique, right? So there's other entry-level master's programs. But what I will say what makes our program unique is there's several things. One is you're going to be receiving a master's, right? So the obvious is you're receiving a master's instead of a second bachelor's degree. That's one. Two is we have 2 certifications that are attached to it. So again, remember I mentioned the CNO, which is a clinical nurse leader, and then we also have the public health certification. Okay, so at the end of the program, you can receive your MSN, with your RN license, and have a certification as a clinical nurse leader and as a public health. Okay. Another thing that we also, I will say is in terms of what makes our program unique are the different clinical rotations and the different hospitals that you'll be going to, right? So again, one thing, if you remember I mentioned, is the Ronald Reagan Medical Center is the #1 hospital on the West Coast. Not every school has the opportunity of sending their students to this hospital, right? So that's one thing you could think about as well. Not just Reagan, but also Santa Monica. So that's one, knowing that you begin the best teaching, in a clinical aspect, right? Because this is a teaching hospital. Another thing I can also say is that more than half of our faculty are in the academy, right? And so I'm a big sports guy, and my biggest example in terms of how I can equate that is the Hall of Fame, right? So it's the highest recognition that you can receive. And so more than half of our faculty are in the Hall of Fame. Okay, so knowing that you're getting the best teaching in a clinical aspect, as well as within your theory and teaching courses, we feel this is what makes our program stand out more than others. Okay, so that's a really good question. But then, of course, that's me being biased. But if not, you can look up to see what the other programs have to offer. There's no way an ABSN is going to be able to offer you a master's, and I know they're not going to have certifications as a clinical nurse leader and or as a public health. Okay, so think about that. And hopefully that this program, as we continue talking about this, it'll be a match for you. Okay, let's see. So someone's asking, okay, in terms of those 2 certifications, is there additional courses? No, there's not additional courses, but those courses are built in to the program. Okay, so there's no extra courses that you have to take. It's just taking that extra exam for those 2, but they are built in there. What can you do with these certifications? That's going to be really up to you in terms of what you want to do in the future as a nurse, right? If you want to get into a leadership role, obviously that's where the CML comes in, or if you're really interested in public health. We may have some individuals out here who have an MPH, right? So a Master's of Public Health, and may even have an undergraduate in public health. And so that's going to be really, a focus for those that have that interest, knowing that public health is really big here in Los Angeles. That is something that we want to also offer. Okay, so that's a good question as well. Okay, so, all right. Looks like there's no questions at this time, but feel free to keep putting them in the Q&A, and we'll go ahead and continue to answer those. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce Natalie Asensio, who's going to go over the graduate admissions process.
Thank you, Mark, and I hope you can all hear me well. Hello, everyone. We're really happy to have you here. And Mark mentioned it earlier, the application is not open yet. It won't be available until after Labor Day. And here is the link where you will be finding the application. So in the application, it will ask you what your plans for graduate study are. Most of you will be having the application type as new. You will choose renewal if you have filled an application last year and you were admitted but didn't attend. And you will choose readmission if you were a registered grad student at UCLA before. And you need to make sure that you choose the nursing MSN-MECN program, not the APRN program, which is our other MSN program. Okay, transcripts. So you will be sending us your transcripts, and we won't need any official transcripts yet. You will upload your unofficial transcripts for your degree programs and your completed prerequisite coursework. I do recommend that you submit your prereq coursework under supporting documents. And once admitted, you will receive emails from me requesting your official transcripts, and you can send those electronically or you can mail them in to us. Okay, and the statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose is a very critical part of your application. We want to know why you want to be a nurse, and it is 500 to 1,000 words in length. It is for us to understand why you want to be a nurse. There is no interview and no testing, so it's very, very integral that you let us know why you want to be a nurse and why we're a good fit for you in our nursing program. So here are some general questions. They don't all have to be answered. It's just kind of to give you an idea of what you can write in your essay. One of the questions is, what is your purpose in applying for graduate study in your degree program? You want to describe your areas of interest, any nursing goals, what experience you may have had, research in the degree program, any relevant skills from those experiences. Also, any past experience that we should know about that you might have had in your undergrad. Why is the UCLA graduate program to which you are applying is the best place for you to pursue your academic goals? And what are your plans for your career after earning this degree? Personal statement. So your personal statement is going to be very, very, very personal. You want to get into detail and not, it's not a duplicate of your statement of purpose. So this is going to describe your accomplishments, your life experiences, what made you want to be a nurse, or any experiences that led to this decision. Include any educational, personal, multicultural, economic, or social experiences or challenges that you may have had if you're first generation, if you're bilingual, any of those things, you will want to include those in your personal statement. Any contributions to diversity, any volunteer work in your community, and it needs to be a one-page, single-spaced 12-inch font paper. Letters of recommendation. So we will need a total of 3, and it'll have to be from a current employer, supervisor, a college professor, instructor, and preferably a nurse if it was a health-related setting. And we do not want any family or personal friends. And another thing I do want to mention is that you want to let your recommenders know that you're applying to our nursing program. Lots of times people forget to let people know, and we get generated letters of rec. So make sure that they know that you want to be a nurse and that you are applying to our nursing program.
Yeah, and then just really fast, when you are entering your recommender's name, right? So as you get into the application, it's going to ask you to put your recommender's name and the email address. And so what you'll end up doing, you'll enter that info, and then each recommender will receive a link from UCLA Graduate Division, letting them know that they've been selected to write you a letter of recommendation. But our letter of recommendation is not just a typical writing, right? A typical written form, I guess, or a written letter, you could say, but it's actually going to be a form that we provide. So in the form, the first section is going to be a grid kind of form where there's going to be check marks. And so some of the questions that we'll be asking for them to check off is, what is your, let's say, your leadership experience, right? Your leadership abilities or your type of leadership traits. Is it excellent, outstanding, average, below average? Or there's even a section that says, you know, like, I don't know, right? I don't know if this person has that ability. Another question that we'll ask them is, what's your maturity, right? How are you in terms of being a team member? How is your writing ability, right? So there's just really small kind of gesture type questions that we'll ask for them. And then so they'll be able to check off, right? Excellent and outstanding. So the main thing is you want to make sure that you stay right on the left side, right? You want to make sure that each recommender says you're excellent and outstanding. So kind of like what Natalie was saying, when you're selecting, you know, that recommender, you want, you know, to make sure that one, that they know you, right? That sounds pretty, you know, cliche or maybe even dumb in a sense, but a lot of people will choose a recommender maybe because of the title, right? Maybe because they're a supervisor at a hospital or a volunteer volunteer program. That looks good, but if they are someone who you haven't had, you know, conversations with, they don't know that nursing or healthcare is what you want, they're not going to be able to express that in your letter of recommendation. Okay, so that's one thing to think about, is the type of people that you choose or you select to write you a recommendation. A lot of people think, hey, you know, this is my English professor, right? And what does an English professor know about nursing? They may know a lot, right? Because of the conversations you've had, the relationship you may have with them. So it's really more about the relationship you have with this recommender, and knowing that they know that you'd be a great addition to the nursing profession. Okay, so think about that. So again, remember, there's a grid form. And then there's also a couple questions that we'll also ask them to type in answers. So they'll be able to do that as well. So one of the questions will be, you know, how well do they know you? How long have they known you? And do they think you'd be a great fit for, the nursing profession or a program? And so they'll be able to type in answers. Okay, but a lot of times a recommender will also attach a letter. Okay, so again, the grid form is what's going to be required of them to complete, but there's going to be an upload file, right, drop down to where they can also upload a letter, a written letter if they've done that as well. Now, remember, it's optional, so it's not required. I know a lot of people say, does it help my application if they write, additional letter? I can't say yes or no. It just depends on what they write, right? And so they might write something that's generic that doesn't give us a whole lot about who you are. So that's not going to be as beneficial as, a recommender who goes in depth in terms of who you are as an individual, the traits that you have, and the abilities that they think you have possess in terms of you being successful. Okay, so kind of think about that in terms of the letter recommendations. And so, sorry, Natalie, I do see some questions. And
Oh
so,
yeah, I was actually just gonna tell you that they're
yeah, go ahead.
related to letters of recommendation. So it says, does the 3 letters of recs have to be one from each category listed there, or can we have 2 letters of rec come from health setting and one from current employer? Okay, so yeah, that's actually okay. So if you, for example, if you had a professor maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you don't have that communication, those letters of rec from those recommenders are fine.
And then also with that, it doesn't have to be from each category. So they
Right.
can all be professors, they can all be supervisors, they can all be mentors, whatever the case is. So that's up to you in terms of what combination you want to use. But again, I wouldn't necessarily have it be a combination instead of choosing your best 3. Okay, so that's what I would actually recommend more than anything. Let's see, what else? Someone's asking, yeah, can it be a previous director / supervisor? Yes, it can. It can be someone that, was in the past that you may have a better relationship with than maybe a current employer. So that's okay as well. Someone is also asking, can one of the letter recommendations come from your volunteer experience? And so, yes, you could do that as well. I know one thing that's popping up in my mind is that depending on what type of experience you're getting, if it's a volunteer program, they may send like some type of certification that says that you completed X amount of hours, whatever the case is. That is not something you have to upload into the application. But if you want to ask that supervisor to write you a letter of recommendation, you can do that as well. Okay. Oh, and so I do see someone said, did Mark say that the letter of recommendation come from a mentor? Yes, I did. But a mentor is a fine line, right? It has to be a mentor. It cannot be your friend. Your mentor cannot be your personal friend, and it cannot be a family member. So a mentor could be someone like, let's say if you've gone out and you volunteered, in some type of program, and that person may be a nurse, and you want to start that relationship with them. You want them to take you under their wing, show you, what it's like to be a nurse. You built a relationship with them. That could be someone who's a mentor. Okay, so there is a fine line. What we will ask again is how that recommender knows you. And if they say, oh yeah, I've known so-and-so since they were 8 years old, right? And we're gonna be like, that's actually probably a close friend or a family member in a sense. Okay, so just think about who you're gonna be selecting and how they align to you with that. It's a good question. Okay, there's a prereq question. We'll wait because Natalie's going to be going over that pretty shortly. And okay, so someone's asking a follow-up for the mentors. Can a mentor be a student that is a nursing grad student? Yes, could be. But again, it's really going to be up to how that individual states how they know you. Okay, so for any reason, if it does come back, feel that this recommender is unsatisfactory, we will let you know. We will let you know. We will say, hey, unfortunately, this person that you're selecting does not meet the criteria, and you would have to enter a new recommender. Okay, so think about that. All right, go ahead, Natalie.
We also require your resume, which is going to highlight your education, honors received, any research, work experience, any professional organizations or associations, and we want them listed in chronological order. So this is vital, and reviewers will look at your resume for those experiences. So make sure it's complete and that it reflects your leadership, employment, community service, and any other multicultural experiences that you may have had.
Definitely. One thing that I also want to mention is that it can exceed 1 page, right? And so a lot of times people think this has to be like a work resume where it's 1 page. Nope, it does not. And so that's why we kind of say resume / CV. And so you can make it, I would probably say typically people make it about 2 pages. If it's three, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, what we also want you to do is kind of like what Natalie was saying, is want you to include everything, right? From the honors you received, your work experience, volunteer experience, organizations, associations, bilingual, right? Also put down your multilingual abilities there. And then also, if you can, give a
How
little
you
quick,
use them.
yeah, how you use them, right? So how you use them, not only for your language abilities, but then also the things that you've experienced, right? So put a little description for each one. Let us know what it means, because there's a lot of programs and organizations that are out there, and if you just list it, we'll see it, but we won't know what it means, right? And so instead of us having to look it up and see what it means, just put a little description in terms of what that organization or that company is and what you were able to do with them or for them. And so that it would be really helpful. One thing which is also on my mind is, as you'll see as we keep going through these slides, interviews are not one of the admission criterias. Okay, so it's going to be based off what Natalie said, which is that statement of purpose, that personal statement, the 3 letters of recommendations, and this resume. So whatever you leave out on those 4 components, we're not going to know. Okay, so it's not like you're going to get a second phase, which is an interview to really let us know. So we really want you to dump all of those into these 4 components and let us know who you are. Don't leave anything out, no matter how small you think it is. It really gives us a good idea of who you are as a person, academically, professionally, and personally. So someone is asking, what is the word limit for the personal statement? And so it's also about 500 words because it says up to a page. But what we're trying to do, and Natalie, I'm not sure if you guys even heard it, but for the statement of purpose, she did say for the statement of purpose, it could be about 500 to up to 1,000. And so we're hoping to increase that. We've contacted graduate division and we asked to increase it from 500 to 1,000 because we know we kind of listed all these things that we want for you to talk about. And it's going to be really hard to do that within 500 words for each section. So we're hoping that they're going to take that into consideration and up it so that way you guys are going to be able to write more. And so we will know as we get closer to the date of the application when that opens up, if they're able to include that. Okay, so think about that. And then let's see, someone has another question. I kind of answered this already, but someone is asking if the recommender attaches their own letter to the application along with the form, does that impact the application in a way to make it stronger? It does not make it stronger if they attach a written letter. Okay. Again, we don't know, and/or you are not going to know what they write in that letter. Okay. And so all the letter can do is really give us a different perspective of what that recommender thinks you are as a potential student or applicant. Doesn't necessarily make it or enhance the application. Okay. There are applicants who are admitted to the program and their recommenders do what's required of them. We just need the form. That is what's required, is just that form. But if they want to, go a little bit further out and write something, they could do that as well. Okay, go ahead, Natalie.
So we're going to go over the prereqs. Okay, so here on our left side, we have the chemistry, the intro to inorganic, organic, and biochemistry, communication or public speaking, the epidemiology. So this is the prereq and the only one that can be completed summer before starting the program. So once you're admitted, you can sign up for it and take it at UCLA, UCLA Extension, or UCB Extension. Human anatomy, human physiology is the only prereq that we have that has an expiration date. It has to be taken within 5 years, so no later than 2018. I'm sorry, yes, so no later than 2018. I just wanted to stress that because if you took a 2017, you'll have to retake it. Microbiology, statistics. So we need 2 written English courses. For psychology, it has to be intro or general. And we've added 2 new prereqs, which is the lifespan developmental psychology and the nutrition. And all prerequisites must be completed other than the epidemiology by the end of December 2022 for the fall 2023 entry. No exceptions. And if admitted, the epidemiology will be completed in the summer prior to the fall quarter. All prerequisites need to have a C or better. If you are submitting or using an AP score, it has to be a 4 or 5 for it to be acceptable. And here you can find our approved list for the prerequisites for MECN on the nursing web link right here.
Yep, and then really fast, I want to emphasize that as well, right? So Natalie literally just said, if you want to look at our approved list, we have it on our website, because there's going to be probably some questions. You guys may have some questions in terms of chemistry, right? And so for chemistry, we are looking for you to complete an inorganic, organic, and biochemistry, but it does not have to be separate courses. Okay, so if you go onto our approved course list, you will see colleges and universities where we might have 1 course listed, and that means it will satisfy that requirement. So for instance, there's a couple that are on the top of my head. If you were to complete chemistry 19 at Santa Monica College, that is an organic, inorganic, and biochemistry course. So that 1 class will satisfy this requirement. Okay, if you take chemistry 51, which is at the LA, City District community colleges, that will satisfy the requirement. Okay, but if you take chemistry if you take chemistry 1A and 1B at, let's say, UC Berkeley, as that will satisfy the requirement, but it's going to be 2 courses. So again, we have a full list of approved courses for chemistry, to which you'll be able to take a look at that, and it'll let you know if those courses are acceptable or not. Someone is asking in terms of biostats, and so for statistics, it can be statistics, it can be biostats, it could be statistics in social science, it could be statistics in psychology. So whatever the case is, as long as it's statistics, it'll be accepted. Oh, yes, so someone's also asking for chemistry. So if you take, or if you went to school here at UCLA, for chemistry, it would be 14A and 14B. Okay, so that's another good question. So it's funny how if you take chemistry at UCLA, it's going to be 2 courses, but if you take it at a community college, it could be completed within 1 course. Right, so again, refer to our approved course list. And here's another thing too. If you go onto our prerequisite list and your school is not on there, it doesn't mean that it's not acceptable. It just means we may not have come across it. And so what we would ask for you to do is to send us an email with that course description. Okay, and so we'll be able to evaluate it. And if for any reason we feel that course description is not enough, we'll follow up and ask for a course syllabus. So again, don't be alarmed if your school is not on there. Reach out to us and we'll ask for more information so we can further evaluate that. Someone is asking, can prerequisites be taken in grad school? They can. As opposed to undergrad, yes, they can. We can accept grad courses. But again, we would want you to reach out to us so we can double check to make sure that you are taking the right equivalent course. Someone is asking, when was nutrition added as a prerequisite? So I will say nutrition and lifespan developmental were added in January. Okay, so they were added and voted on by the faculty. Okay, so the faculty wanted to add these additional courses, and because they were actually classes that you were having to complete in the MECN program. But with the program being so intensive and some of the classes and courses being required of you, they thought it'd be best if they moved it to a prerequisite. There's other nursing courses or other nursing programs that also require those as prereqs. And so what we thought is it can also knock out two things, right? So one, you're already having to complete those for other schools. And then two, it will lessen the course load as you actually are in the MECN program. Okay, so again, those were added about 8 months ago. So it just depends on if you checked our website or not. Okay, someone is asking, can an IB test score be used in place of an AP? Yes, it can. Just would have to score the rep. You don't have to get the requisite score for that. So that's a good question. Someone is asking more of a personal question, so I'll type the answer in here. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, someone's asking, will an AP English Lit and Composition course score of a 5 cover the 2 courses? No, so that's a good question. So for English, or I should say, let me say written communication or written English, they will have to be 2 grades or basically 2 scores. Sorry, let me back up, not 2 scores, but you will need to have completed 2 courses. So now let me reiterate that. As Natalie said, we can accept an AP score of a 4 or 5, but we can only accept 1 AP score. Okay, so if you want to use AP English, we can accept it, but then you wouldn't be able to use AP Psych. All right, so we would only be able to use 1 AP. So we'll be able to take one of your APs where you scored a 5 for English, but then you would have to then submit a letter grade for another English course. Okay, so that's a good question. Someone's asking, if we retake a prerequisite, does UCLA prefer the course with the higher grade or the most recent? Good question. We will take the highest grade. Okay, so if you took the course and got a B the first time and you retook it and got a C, we'll take the B grade. So it doesn't have to be most recent, we'll take the highest grade. So that is a good question as well. Okay, someone is also asking a personal prereq question. So I'm going to answer that. And just so you guys out there know, basically they're asking a specific course. They're asking, hey, does this course satisfy this prerequisite? And we can't say yes or no without looking at a course description. So if you have a personal question in terms of, do you think this course will satisfy nutritional, or this course satisfy lifespan developmental? We will have to look at a course description in order for us to say yes or no. So again, feel free to email us. We get right back to you within the day, if not the next day. And we love doing that just to ensure that you guys know, what you have and what you may need going into the application cycle. All right, let's see here. Okay, someone again is asking about English. All right, so let me hopefully I can answer this in terms of the written communication requirements. So for written communication, it could be an English course, it could be a composition course. It has to be something that's writing intensive. Okay, it could be a sociology course, but was it writing intensive? Was it a philosophy course, but it has to be writing intensive? So again, you guys know, as you guys completed, your undergraduate degree, you should know what your university required as a writing, requirement, as a writing component. And so again, you can look that up through your transcripts, or if you feel this course did have a lot of writing, what we will ask for you to send us a course syllabus. All right, so I think the course syllabus will also help us as well. So if you're like, hey, I know I wrote a lot in this course. I know I did. All we did was write essays. There was nothing else but writing essays. Send us a course description or a course syllabus, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so we have no problem taking a look at that. Someone's asking, what is the time limit for prerequisites? If you're paying attention, Natalie said, the only one, as you see on this screen, is human physiology. It has to be completed within the last 5 years. So you'll see it right here. Human physiology 2018, no later than 2018. All right, let's see. Ooh, someone's asking, okay, another good question. Someone's asking about the plus and minuses for prerequisites. And so for prerequisites, we accept C or better. Okay, so we won't take any C minuses. So the course has to be a C or better. Now, is a C plus equivalent to a C? No, it's a C plus. Okay, if it's a B plus is equivalent to a B, no, it's a B plus. So we will actually literally write the grade that you received for that prerequisite. So that is a good question. I'm glad you mentioned that because for the prerequisites, they have to be a C or better. So no C minus. So if you even received an A plus, we will write that down in the application that you received an A plus, right? Some schools give A pluses, some don't. So we'll make sure to write that as well. So that's a good question. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, that's more, it's a UC question. It's kind of a personal UC question, so I will type that in the chat. Okay, someone, all right, this is always a hard question to answer. Someone is asking what makes an application stand out? What makes an application stand out is you being you. Sounds like a dumb answer, but there's no one way of getting into the program, right? And so everyone who applies is going to look different, right? You may not have an EMT, you may not have a CNA, or you may have both. You may be an LVN, or you may not have any experience, but it's really going to be up to you in articulating why you feel you are ready, prepared, and should be admitted into our nursing program. Okay, so what's going to stand out is you. It's going to be you, putting yourself out there. It's going to be you giving us that creative, articulated experience as you put it down on paper. It's hard to answer what gets someone in just because this program is so diverse in all facets, from where someone worked, where someone volunteered, what someone's undergraduate degree is, who they are, demographic, where they grew up. I mean, all of this plays a part into being admitted into our program. But mainly, what do you want to do as a nurse? What are your future goals as a nurse, right? What is it about our program? How can this program help prepare you and guide you to where and what you want to be? Okay, so the beauty is when we look at these applications and review them, they're all going to be different, right? Everyone's experience of how they grew up and what they want to be and what they want to do is going to be different. So I know it's a cliche answer, but it's really going to be what you put down. There's no definite. But to me, I think that's the beauty in actually applying and having the ability to submit an application, is knowing that who you are is what's going to differ from the next person. So I hope that helps. I always have a hard time answering that just because there's really no direct answer for that. Let's see. Is there any resources that review your application suggests what you would do to be a better applicant? No, we do not. Unfortunately, us in the admissions office, we cannot do that because we are actually reviewers as well. So we won't be able to look at your statement of purpose or anything like that and try to give you pointers. But what we can do is if you apply to the program and you're not admitted, we can provide feedback. But before that, what I would recommend you do is have your best friend, your significant other, your family member read your statement of purpose and your personal statement. Those are the people that know you the best. And they will be able to tell you if there's things that you're missing. Or not even really missing, but they're like, hey, do you remember that time you did this? Right. And you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Right. So contact those that know you, or even, again, a mentor, right? Or even a recommender. Right. There's gonna be a lot of people who can talk about the great things that you've done that you may not think is important. So again, when it comes to kind of evaluating and wanting people to look at your application, send it to those the people that are around you. They definitely know best. So I definitely recommend that. Let's see here. All right, we're almost done moving forward. We just have some really good questions here. We're pretty good on time. So let's see. Okay, actually, that's the one I will type in the answer for that. Okay. Go ahead, Natalie.
Okay, so for international applicants, you will be required to take the TOEFL, which is the test of English as a foreign language with at least an 87. And if you do take the IELTS academic, that would be a 7 or higher. And that's if you've graduated from a foreign university where the primary language was not English. And the institution code is 4837, and the intended graduate major code would be 0610. Last but not least, submit your application by November 1st. So the documents that are going to be submitted later would be January 15th. So that would be any of your supporting documents like your letters of recommendation. If you had courses in progress, then you need to submit those documents to us by January 15th. So it also, I do want to say that, for example, if one of your recommenders, we know things happen, right? Say they can't submit something for you, you can go in your application and change the reviewer, and they will be sent the link, and they'll be able to do it. So let's see. Yeah, and they have until January 15th. So we do know that things happen. Sometimes people can't get a hold of their reviewers anymore, or they can't find the email in their junk emails even. So at that point, you want to make sure that you have someone submit something before January 15th.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for saying that too. And you will be able to, even after you submit your application, you will be able to go in there to check to see if your recommender opened it, right? So it tells you when the recommender opened the link, it'll tell you when they started the link, and it'll tell you when they completed it. So as it gets closer to that January 15th, and you only have a couple more days, it looks like you may have to contact them personally, but you'll be able to send them a reminder through the application, and/or you will have to ask for a new recommender to complete it. We do have that hard January 15th deadline, just because remember, if we want to send out those notices in February, it's going to be a quick turnaround on our end. So again, we do leave it up to you. We will notify you again. We actually reach out to you guys. How many times, Natalie? At least 3 times?
3 times. So you'll get 3 emails from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do want to say that, there's holidays, so you don't want to wait till the last minute. There's Christmas, Thanksgiving, all those things, New Year's. So, pay attention to those deadlines, which is November 1st and January 15th. Take a screenshot, those are very vital dates.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and then one last thing with that too. We know November 1st is the deadline, right? So it's not going to be October 31st. It's going to be actually November 1st by 11:59 p.m. Okay, so you have still that day of the 1st to submit your application. Oh, one thing I also want to mention that the application is on Eastern Standard Time. So if you submit it at 11:01 p.m. specific, it will say, thanks, congratulations, you submitted your application November 2nd at 2:01 a.m. Don't freak out, it's okay, we know. But we know there's going to be some emails that still come in that say, I submitted my application on time. We know.
Happens every year.
Happens every year, we know, we definitely know. And we'll make sure to accept that as well. So just make sure that it's in before 11:59 specific, and you'll be good to go. One other thing is that once you do submit your application, you will get an email, kind of like we were saying, we email you 3 times, but the initial email will let you know that we received it. And then you'll get some additional emails, letting you know until it's actually complete. Okay, think about that. All right. Is there any questions? Oh, okay, here's a good question. How many people review the applications? Well, there's 2 ways of answering that. You're probably asking how many people will review your application. That answer could be 2 to 3. 2 to 3 people can review your application. How many people actually review the applications? That number, basically all faculty and lecturers are going to be reviewing applications. So it's a team effort. It's a combined effort where all faculty and lecturers know this is the time period throughout the year where they're going to have to dedicate time to reviewing the applications. But that is a good question. Are they the ones that decide to if you get in? Yes. Now they is going to be the student affairs committee. So there's a student affairs committee made up of X amount of faculty that are on this committee, and they have power/decisions to vote on who's admitted into the program. So the good thing is those that are reviewing your application are going to be those that admit you are going to be the ones that end up teaching you while you're in the program. Okay, so that's a good question. All right, here's another one. Hi, for the application is only accessed, yes, through UCLA Graduate Division. Is that correct? So yes, that is correct. And so we do not have our application through nursing CAS. So our graduate application or the nursing application is going to be through the UCLA Graduate Division. Okay, so it's going to be grad.ucla.edu. Oh, one thing, if you go on that now, I wouldn't recommend starting the application, okay? Because if you start it, you're going to be starting a fall 2022 application, all right? The fall 2023 application is not available right now. Again, will be available after Labor Day, okay? So if you start it, and even if you submit, you pay, that's not going to be on us. We are not going to be able to refund you. That's going to be a UCLA Graduate Division conversation. So again, stop if you started. And or not saying necessarily stop, you can continue, just don't submit. But also know none of the information that you put now is not going to roll over to the new application. So just know whatever you do now, you would have to redo or retype and reselect when the new application becomes available next month. So that is a good question. How much is it to submit an application? And don't be sorry, guys, don't be sorry for asking questions. This is what we're here for. We will be here until the very end to answer every question. But the application fee, I will say what it was last year, because who knows if UCLA Graduate Division will up that this year. But the fee last year was about 120. Okay, so it was about 120. We don't know what it's going to look like for this upcoming year. That is a UCLA Graduate Division requirement, I guess you could say, or they're the ones that come up with the fee. If we are reapplying, does our application from the previous year transfer to the upcoming academic year? That is a good question. It does not. You would have to create a new application. The only thing, to my knowledge, that will be able to transfer over is if you want to use the same letter of recommendations. Okay, so everything else will have to be new. So you will have to submit basically an entirely new application.
There's a question. It says, for volunteer experience, such as working with a community blood drive, how far back can this have been to be relevant? So there's no timeline.
Yeah.
And there's no max or minimum amount of hours.
All right, so we're gonna move forward. Just really fast. Again, I kind of mentioned the 18, and that's gonna be myself, Natalie, and then Jamie, who's not here with us. But take a screenshot here if you want to reach out to us. You can ask us questions now leading up to the application. But just know that we will be in contact with you when the application starts and when we receive them. Okay, so if you have any questions about prerequisites, questions about other admission requirements, feel free to email us and we'll get back to you.
And I'll also add my email in the chat.
Yeah, do that as well. And then for those that want to get a head start on sending transcripts, you can. Again, it's not mandatory. You don't have to, because during the application period, you upload your unofficial transcript. But if admitted, this is when we will ask for you to send your official transcripts. So you can send it to me, and we'll upload it into your student or application file. And then if for any reason your institution does not send official electronic transcripts, they will be able to send it to that address there. Okay, so really fast, we have this quick disclaimer just to let you know, of course, As you guys saw, we only met 70 students. We have about 600 applicants, so it's very competitive. And we try to do our best to give you guidance and answer every question that we can to make sure that you submit a successful application. I will say for those that attend or listen to this session, you do kind of get a head start over those that do not, just because you're getting all of these type of questions answered, and you really get a good sense and idea of what it is that we're looking for in a applicant. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop or create a new share because our Director of Financial Aid, Leonie Thomas, was unable to join us today, but she did create a recording, and I want to make sure you guys will be able to listen to that. So here we go. I'm going to press play. Natalie, if you can shake your head or say yes, if you can hear it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leonie. I'm the Director of Financial Aid at the School of Nursing. Welcome to our information session. I'm so glad you have joined us. In this presentation, I will be sharing an overview of financial aid at the School of Nursing. But if you have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to us at financialaid@sonnet.ucla.edu. In this session, we'll be going over a few topics, including how to apply for financial aid, annual student fees and the cost of attendance for your program, how to fund your education, and important dates to keep in mind. To begin the process of applying for financial aid, you will need to complete a financial aid application. To know which application to complete, you can reference the information in the table on the right. Most students complete the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA for short. Students that are not eligible for federal aid can apply for state aid through the California DREAM Act application. Now let's zoom in on annual student fees for your program. Annual fees are currently set at $26,116 for one academic year. If you are a non-resident, you will need to pay a supplemental tuition fee of $12,245. Fees are assessed quarterly, so a resident student would pay about $8,705 in tuition and fees each quarter. Student fees include UC-wide and campus-based fees. You can find a specific breakdown of all the fee components on the annual and term student fees page on the registrar's website. Health insurance coverage is mandatory for all students. Students are automatically enrolled in the UC-SHIP health insurance plan, which has a fee of $4,714 per year. The UC-SHIP health insurance requirement and fees can be waived if you already have adequate insurance coverage. The cost of attendance, or COA for short, is an allowance based on the educational expenses that students might incur. So the COA includes direct and indirect costs, and it's also the maximum amount of financial aid students can receive during an enrollment period. You will see in the pie chart the different components of the cost of attendance. The total projected budget is currently $61,382. You'll see that tuition and fees is just one part of that component. The rest also include room and meals, books and supplies, transportation, health insurance, and even loan fees. So students can fund their education in a combination of ways, through scholarships, loans, and working at UCLA. Grants or scholarships is gift aid that you won't have to pay back. And those include fellowships through the graduate division, which you can apply to on your application for admissions. And all students who submit a financial aid application and a School of Nursing scholarship application will receive some sort of scholarship funding. That can include scholarships that are based on your program or interests, need-based scholarships like the Audrey N. H. Mosley Scholarship, or HRSA scholarship for disadvantaged students. We also have merit scholarships, and we always encourage students to expand their scholarship search and look for outside scholarships. Loans is borrowed money that you will need to pay back. This includes direct unsubsidized loan, which can be offered up to $20,500 per academic year, a direct graduate plus loan, which is based on students having adequate credit, the DREAM loan for our DREAM Act application students up to $4,000 annually. Nursing students also qualify for a nursing student loan, and there are also a lot of private loan options. Lastly, some students choose to work at UCLA. So this requires, of course, that you work and you earn money or employer-paid benefits. So either you can qualify for federal work study and be a work study student somewhere on campus. There's also academic apprenticeships where you can qualify for fee remissions, and UC employees. So eligible regular status UC employees can qualify for a 2/3 tuition reduction in the student services and tuition fees. Now, before we end our presentations, I want to highlight some important dates. Each year on October 1st, the financial aid applications open. On November 1st is the deadline to apply for fellowships through the graduate division. March 2nd is the financial aid application priority deadline. So you want to make sure to submit your FAFSA or DREAM application by this date. In May, typically our School of Nursing scholarship application opens, and this is shared with students after they are admitted. And in June is when our scholarship application deadline is set. You can find more information about financial aid at the School of Nursing on our website at nursing.ucla.edu/financial-aid, or feel free to email me your specific questions at financialaid@sonnet.ucla.edu. Thanks for listening.
All right, awesome. Okay, hopefully you guys found that really informational and got some really good stuff from Leonie. Let me get back to this, and I will move us forward and keep this here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop share because now we have our student panel, which is coming up. I just saw a few emails from some of our panelists who are having a hard time logging in. And so I need to check the participants to see if they're on this side, and I will be able to, aha, here we go. Yay, there's one. Let's see, who else do we have here? Here's another, yay. What else do we have? Here we go. Yeah, we were having trouble. I guess the link that I sent them to jump on as a panelist, it was not allowing them because I guess they didn't have our School of Nursing website or email address. I don't know. But thanks you guys for reaching out to me. And I think this might be it for now, but I'm going to keep checking just in case we run into that same issue. Okay, awesome. So good seeing you guys' faces. I'm super excited about that. For those that are attending, what we want to do, oh, we got, yes, awesome. Okay, I see you guys. For those that are attending, we want you guys to jump on this and get a good sense for the next, 25 minutes to see what our students/graduates have been doing, why they applied, Did they enjoy it? Are they enjoying it? I want them to be honest as we go through this, because I think this is probably the best part of the session. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll have you guys start off with your name, and then which program, well, obviously I know which program, what year you are, and or if you graduated, and then what you plan on doing next. Sound good? Some head shakes, yes? Cool. All right, cool. So I see here, who do I see? Dominique, you are first on mine. So if you want to go ahead and start off, and then we'll just pass it off.
Okay. Hi, can everyone hear me? Are we good?
Yeah. Perfect.
I am in the hospital right now. I was
Oh,
able to take a
that-
break during clinicals. So that's kind of cool.
That's dedication.
This is what you'll be wearing, some scrubs and stuff. My name is Dominic Yepes. I guess I'm MECN 2 now. We just started our second year. And the third question is why I chose UCLA.
Yeah. What made you choose us? And then
Okay.
and then you can go on, I guess, how it is so far. How you
Okay, great. I chose UCLA. I guess biggest reason is financially. I was just applying to every college, and it turned out I only applied to private schools and then one public school. And when I was getting down to choosing my schooling, this was like a third of the cost. So that's number one. Number two, UCLA is an amazing school and so many resources. And I also just wanted to stay locally in LA. And how I like it so far, I think it's exactly what I was anticipating as far as like workload. I think what I wasn't anticipating is enjoying my cohort so much. I feel like this program is really different because MECN programs in general, just having second degree, everyone has like their own different trajectory and pathway getting to this point. So I think I really appreciate nursing school is hard no matter what, but I appreciate going through this process and having like such a family support along the way. I feel like it's a collaborative learning environment and we all support each other, and it's not competitive, but more like we want everyone to succeed. So, and I haven't gone to grad school anywhere else, but selfishly, I feel like that's a culture you would want to go to. It's a culture where everyone succeeds. We all succeed together. And I feel like, yeah, that's like probably the best thing I love so far about the schooling. So.
Awesome. Who would want to take it next? Don't be shy. There you go.
Hi. Ooh, there's an echo. I think it's because I access to another webinar.
Yeah. Let me, I think,
Okay.
because I think you came in twice.
Okay. How's that now?
Yeah, perfect. There you go.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Mara Shalanika, Shalini for short. I am a MECN 2, so we're all in the same cohort class. So we have like a year left. And what kind of got me to UCLA was initially I wanted to go to UC San Francisco for the Certified Nurse Midwifery program, where you would be an RN or studying to be an RN for a year, and then you go into your specialty. But like after time, personal issues came up, and I realized during the pandemic, I'd rather just be with my family. But of course, I felt like that was like a greatest blessing in disguise to like decide to go and stay within LA because I was born and raised here. Because the program itself is just such a phenomenal program. Like I feel like it's such a healthy academic environment with all the 70 students that we have, because everyone wants each other to succeed. And it's such a beautiful environment where we are not like intensely competitive with each other, you know? It's not like those cutthroat programs where we are off in like a battleground to like, you know, do the best and beat each other. But instead, it's like a very healthy environment where we are there to like teach each other and learn with each other and support each other, because we all are going through a lot of like personal things ourselves too, all the while going to school. The program itself, though, it's beautifully challenging in so many ways, where you have to confront to like a lot of cool things where, you know, weekly memorizations of like performing how to do so many skills. And like before just going to undergrad, like you're not really taught how to like study like this. And since there's like a quality amount of information and skills that you have to develop. You're really taught to basically learn to like utilize your time really well and set your priorities straight. And so to compare myself with who I was like a year ago, I just can't fathom like the amount of maturity that I have and like the ability to like really know how to focus my time and study with people and like learn how to do teach backs too. And I think UCLA is such a phenomenal like program in itself because there's just so many amazing professors that constantly like inspire you with their stories every single day, since they have like a plethora of years and hours of experience in the ICU and labor and delivery, which is what I'd love to do. But yeah, like you're just constantly, bombarded with like amazing mentors left and right, and especially your clinical instructors too.
Love that. Who wants to follow up with that?
I won't be able to be as great as Shanika, but I'll try. My name's Narinder. Hi, I'm Kelsey.
I'm Fiona. Hi.
We're also as second years, and why I picked UCLA. Well, I'm from up north, so it was a big transition for me to move down here, just like not having any family here. But like they said, like the court's so amazing. We like go to each other's places. We study at like coffee places together. So I feel like UCLA really has become like another home for me due to these people. And I've been having such a great time so far. Everyone's so supportive. Like, well, even during like testing time, we'll all get together, we'll test each other, and it's very like non-judgmental. Even like sometimes I won't know something and I might think it's stupid, but I'm like, the court's so comforting that you could just ask them like, hey, I don't understand this, or what does this symbol mean? And I really appreciate that.
That's great. Hi, Kelsey again. I chose UCLA because it's an incredible school. I remember when I was looking into it, Mark Coven actually was an amazing resource, so utilize him. And the professors are great. They've just been like, I like to travel a lot, and they've just been like all over the world doing these incredible medical missions. They've invented things. They're just like amazing people to learn from. But my favorite part is definitely the cohort and the group that we get to learn with. And it's so competitive to get into nursing school. And then once you're in, like, it's over. Just get through, make friends, learn all you can. And then you get to be a nurse and help save lives. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I echo everything that folks are saying here. I think we are each other's greatest strength, so definitely nix the competitiveness right away and like make friends, as many friends as you can, because we just lift each other up. We're literally studying at a coffee shop right now. So great example. But I chose UCLA similar to what Dom said for financial reasons. And then, this school has such amazing people and resources. And I've heard so many stories that continue to inspire me, like nurses who just go above and beyond and put a different definition to nursing than one that you might know right now. So strap in, get ready. It's a wild ride. It's fun.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emmeline. I'm also a MECN 2. And I also echo a lot of what everyone's already said. We have an amazing cohort. I chose UCLA partly for financial reasons, being in California as well. And I also liked the balance of public health focus and other topics. In this program, you get the public health nursing certificate if you want, as well as some more CNL experience, prep and experience. And I liked that, especially coming into this as a second career. As far as challenges, I will say like other accelerated programs, it's really demanding of our time and energy and does not allow for a ton of balance. But for me, it's worth it to get the degree quickly and sort of then we can move on and go on to our amazing nursing careers.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to open this up to those that are out there in the Zoom land who have any questions for our MECN students. First of all, I think it's really cool you guys are all in the same cohort. And then, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow it up. I'll ask a question, then hopefully people will put some in the Q&A. my first question is, how has it been, I guess, with the transition of knowing that you kind of started, I guess, virtually, and then now that you guys are transitioning slowly back to in person, how's that been for you guys? Are you looking forward to it? Is it like, be honest here, I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I could go first. I mean, I like the transition because with Dom, he's like my car ride. So just like waking up in the morning and seeing him, it makes me really happy versus like being online, you know, all the cameras are off. So it's a great start to my morning, the car ride, and then just meeting everyone in the morning and like just talking about like our clinicals or what we're going through and sitting next to each other. I don't know, it's like a fun experience. I feel like being in person. But obviously being online, it's nice because you could be in your bed, you know, behind your pillow and just listening. So there's pros and cons. You guys wanna add anything?
Yeah, I would say that too. Got kind of used to online. If anyone's taking their prereqs online, like definitely, you know, there's some things that are easier about it. You lose the commute time and all of that. So
Yeah.
I felt like we were kind of resistant to maybe go back in person. But I think it's benefited all of us and we're all kind of glad to be back and you have lunch and you see each other and the program's hard. So it's nice to remember that you're not alone. When the professor's sharing something and it feels intimidating and then you have all of your classmates near you also doing this, you know, you just, I think that camaraderie that comes with being in person is big.
Definitely. I would say the same thing. Yeah. Like there were people who I didn't know for 6 months. I didn't know what they looked like in real life. And we'd meet up and you'd be like, oh, you have makeup on and I can't tell who you are. So definitely like an odd social experience to start online. So I think I would much prefer starting in person and making those connections right off the bat and really like getting in there and getting to know people. So
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna interject a little bit. So I'll ask questions and then you guys just jump in, whoever wants to answer. But we're starting to get some good questions in here, so I want to see if we can try to answer most of them. If not, before the time is up. So another question here is, what was your favorite clinical rotation so far?
I could go first for this one. My favorite clinical was 8 Northwood at Ronald Reagan. It's a liver transplant floor. The nurses there are amazing. They love teaching, and we have LVNs there, so they're able to like walk through everything with you. They give you the time. Like I remember that we had to do this one calculation, and she was like, oh, like, could you do it in your head? And I'm like, no, like, I can't, like, I need a piece of paper, like, and I need a calculator. And they were just so understanding about all they wanted us to do was be safe. So it's like, even if something is like, you're more slower at it, just let them know and they'll work with you. And I feel like, honestly, it's the nurses. They like really make it a good time for you because they've also been in your shoe. And many of the nurses were also MECNs, so they're also working there. So they always gave you tips about the classes and how to be successful.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite location?
The VA has been awesome. They're short-staffed and are so happy to have students there and let you do a lot of skills. I was in the VA emergency department yesterday and they're just like, do all of these things and then, you know, it just feels cool to be wanted and feel really useful, like you're really helping as a student.
same for me. I was at the VA. You get to do IVs, you like catheters. Catheters are there. It's skill heavy, so you get to practice all your skills. It's awesome.
Okay, so great. Here's another question. Trying to see if there's kind of 2 questions, so I'll combine it into one. But someone is asking basically what is life like being a MECN student? And with that, can you work? Are you guys working? And then just how is it like balancing life? So basically, what is it for you guys to be a nursing student?
I guess I could start this one off. So I decided, I know some people do work like at least the first quarter, but my perspective is like, I just wanted to invest myself and be as present as possible throughout this whole process. And also like selfishly, I know I'm going to work for a very long time after this. So I wanted to just be focused on just education right now instead of like working and like selling myself short. So that was just a choice I made. I knew potentially I would be more debt for that reason, but I figured whatever money I would be making, it wouldn't compensate for personal time, which I really need. And I think at least for me, I needed that balance. I'm a person where I can't study like I can't study like 8 hours a day and like cram like I used to in undergrad. That was like definitely the student I was before. This time it's more like ritual. I mean, like consistent 5 hour studying is like the way I am most successful. So once I've learned that, I feel like I was more successful in this program instead of like cramming last minute. But I think quality time and balance is like super important. I've been into Pilates since I started this quarter. I live closer to the beach and I spend time with my dog. So you just really have to really find the things that make you happy and stick to that routine. And I think it really helps you with that stability to be successful in this program.
I could chime in next. I feel like, well, the 2 years, you're going through a quarter system and each quarter is going to be like 10 weeks or so. And so the first quarter was like, oh, this is nursing school. It was tough. But then I think because like when I was new, I was like so type A and try to be very perfect with everything. And so I remember, you're trying to do all this work and assignments and you're trying to be perfect. And so I still delegated a lot of time into like working out at least like 4 to 5 times a week or so. Personally, for me, I decided not to work during my first year because I really wanted to maintain my balance with like school, work, friends. But every single quarter, like the schedule always changed. Like you're going to be taking more workloads or you're going to have like different like clinical schedules. And I felt like throughout the quarters, like it got more intense in a way where there's going to be a lot more that is requested of you. And so it is totally okay to like not work at all because, this is a really beautiful investment, like putting your whole life and time into like the skill practice of like becoming a nurse and like all this education, which like it's like reading one page of it, like you still just want to like really like allow all this information to like really sit with you. And so we do have like a lot of like cohort members in our class that currently work right now. So it is still possible, knowing that, yes, like we do personally need like finances and we want to have like work experience too. A lot of people will like typically work as like a CNA for like 1 day a week. And a lot of people still do really well in nursing school, which is phenomenal. And they still have like a beautiful social life and like a lot of time invested into studying. But I believe like during the second year, especially like after the fall quarter or so, it's going to get more easier in my opinion, because like we're just going to have like immersions. And I feel like personally for me, possibly I'll be looking into like floating. So I feel like every single quarter, like our schedule will always change, but definitely it's still very possible to like exercise and to go to the beach with friends after studying and cooking yourself like delicious food every single day too.
Nice. You got me at the food part. Okay, so here's actually a pretty good question. And I'm not sure if you guys have done this yet for one of your rotations, but I'm going to ask anyways. Do you all have the chance to work with a community organization to treat vulnerable populations? So like, i.e. Working with the homeless. I know like Skid Row was something that MECN's did in the past. So have you guys been able to do that yet? Or do you guys know if you will be having a rotation like that?
We haven't had any rotations focused on that yet, but there are definitely plenty of unhoused folks that come into the hospitals and we treat them there. Anything focused specifically on that? I think during our public health rotation, we may have more exposure to that. But I think that's something a lot of people would be interested in, which we haven't done yet.
Yeah, public health starts year 2. So you guys are going to be doing that one of these quarters. Here's a quick question. What are some of your advices that you guys have for funding? So in terms of scholarships, loans, and all that, you don't have to get too personal. But has that been, or has that maybe been a challenge for you guys? Or is it like, I'll take this loan out, we're going to pay it because I'm worried about this education? Well, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I was more like the second one. Like I said earlier, like the loans are going to be there. I think maybe I felt less stressed about it once I looked at how much I was potentially going to take at other schools. So like other programs are like starting 120 just for tuition, not even like for food and housing. So when we looked at UCLA was like about 60 for 2 years, plus like they give you some scholarships, which is super helpful. You just had to, I just had to be kind of good with my money. And I think finding a roommate is one way, especially because I know housing in UCLA is super expensive. So I just have a roommate. So that was like the cheapest way for me. But I don't know
Yeah,
if anyone
so
else has anything else.
no, so it's really fast. I'm glad you said that because one of the questions earlier was about like housing. Obviously, being here in LA, it's just everything is so expensive. So they were asking like, would it be better to get like graduate housing or to just find an apartment, right? But one thing I didn't think about is you can find roommates, right? And so yeah, there's just
Yeah, I think if you know someone out here, I know graduate housing is super convenient and close, and I know some of the other people here live in graduate housing. I chose not to do it because of I have a partner and I have my dog, and I just wanted to kind of like have like some personal space, especially in this stressful environment. I didn't want to feel like I was so close to school personally, and I wanted to be able to have like separate my personal life from school life. So that was what helped me the most. So that was most important to me. So
awesome. Okay. So what has been the biggest challenge / accomplishment so far as a nursing student?
I think for me it was confidence. Like my first quarter, you guys take fundamentals and you have to perform skills in front of an instructor 1-to-1, and they have like a checklist. And I remember just being so nervous to even put gloves on. and I remember we had like a blood pressure one and I failed it. And I remember like it felt like it was the end of the world for me. And I felt like I wasn't confident. But what has helped me was like with Nika, we would perform the skills. She would act like my instructor. She would have a checklist. So it gave me that environment. And we would even set up the room like it's like the hospital, where we would act like the mannequins and make videos. And then we'd be like, okay, this is how you can remember if you forget this step. So I think really just working together was how I overcame that. Okay. That's great.
All right, so let's see, because I know we have a few more minutes. Let's try to see if we can get through these. Where are we? Okay, what is something that felt intimidating when you applied? And then when you got in, you're surprised? Or what is the best advice you can give to someone who is like switching careers, right? So pretty much if you think about it, MECN programs for those that are switching careers or for someone that does want to get into the nursing profession after the undergraduate. So was there anything that you felt intimidated by? Yes, go ahead. And then advice you want to give.
I really wanted to jump into this question because I'm proud to say that, like during my undergrad at UCLA, I studied political science and I got an F in a class. I got an F in one of this really tough political science course because I was like working full time or at least like almost full time at like Whole Foods as a cashier, trying to like pay off a lot of debt and also taking really tough upper division courses. And I remember like when I graduated, I wanted to like go into nursing thanks to, a lot of inspiration, but I was so afraid to even apply to any school, especially UCLA, because yeah, it's a big name. Yeah, it's amazing professors. Yeah, it's the most incredible school with like a lot of resources and a lot of amazing experience in the connected UCLA hospitals. But I gave myself, I just tried. And it was beautiful to like have a lot of mentors because I honestly like contacted on Facebook, like people who have graduated in the MECN program, just so that I could like just somehow feel okay that having an F was okay. And having like a 3.5 or 3.4 GPA was okay to like apply into this program. And just listening and talking to so many people of all walks of life who are in public health and theater and economics, they reminded me that it's not all just about the grades. It's all about your life, your extracurricular and your passions that's, like expressed through these personal statements, like who you are, what you have done. And so after I graduated, I had so many experiences as like a birth doula and worked at an OBGYN clinic because like maternity is like the place I want to be, and applied. And thankfully it was all right. I got in, I'm here now. So any of you guys who are like completely afraid of not getting in because your GPA looks low compared to like those who are very high, or you're just concerned of anything that's been on your transcript like me, like I promise, like it's gonna be more than okay as long as you show that you have a passion for nursing and to serve others, and just to show that you do spend time like doing the things that you love, including like working at hospitals and volunteering in organizations that are aligned to your specialty.
Thank you for that. I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there that want to hear, that vulnerability, and just obviously knowing that you're here, right? You're in year two. Okay, so I know we're a little over time, but I want to combine maybe these last two questions into one. The first one is, do you guys have any tips or suggestions that comes with the application, maybe with your essays? And then also with that, what do you plan on doing after graduating? So it's like a weird full circle moment, right? So about when you applied, what was it like? And then seeing you guys a year from now, what do you want to do after you graduate?
Okay, I guess we'll start. Oh, I don't know if we're all gonna talk, but
You definitely can.
I was a dancer first. Like that was my first profession, and I've been dancing for the past 10 years. So going back to school was super scary for me because I hadn't been in school. I graduated undergrad in 2013. So it was just like a long journey. I think once I confronted like really why I wanted to be a nurse and committing to it, that was step one. And then recognizing that I didn't need to be a perfect applicant. What they want to see is like growth and passion, like Mara Shalinika already said. So I was never a straight A student. That's just not who I am. But I know I would be an amazing nurse, and I knew I needed my clinical practices and experiences to translate to that. So that is kind of like where I spearheaded my journey as far as like writing my personal statement and stuff, is I focus on the populations I wanted to serve, being a queer person and Mexican immigrant parents. Like that is a gap of disparities that we have, especially specifically here in Los Angeles. So to translate what I want to do after is that's the communities I want to serve. I eventually want to be a psychiatric nurse practitioner who focuses on serving people of color, queer people, trans people. And I feel like that is something that we're missing right now. So I'm hoping to find those gaps within healthcare and serve those communities. So I know that's kind of like all over the place, but
No,
I guess the biggest reason why I'm here and I really wanted to say to everyone is that like, you don't have to have this cookie cutter journey. I think just be honest with who you are and trust yourself and like really believe in yourself. Like you can get here. Like you don't need to be a 4.0 student. Just really, really hone in on what makes you you and be honest with yourself. And I know that'll be enough. So you can all do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, my advice is similar. I think I was also out of school for a long time and coming to a second career and just identifying for the essays, identifying my passions and being able to articulate that. And then something I was really scared of, but was really helpful, was sending my essays to other people for them to read and give me feedback. People in and out who might have opinions about nursing because they gave me different perspectives. And yeah, I think a lot of us are here because we have a non-traditional journey, and that's really amazing. And yeah, as far as what I want to do after, I'm not totally sure yet. I'm interested in emergency or critical care, but I've also had interest sparked while in this program, which is a great thing about doing our clinical rotations. But my background is in outdoor work, and I'm interested in continuing to teach wilderness medicine as I have for the last few years, and possibly doing some search and rescue or something else, flight nursing, something like that. We'll see.
Awesome.
I could go. When I first applied, I wanted to be a psych nurse, and my whole personal and goal statement was based off of that. But then I started having psych rotations, and I saw that like, oh, I don't think that's a place for me. So I majored in psychology. My whole personal goal statement was based off of that. And it all switched for me this year. And I ended up liking another floor, and I saw myself there more. And I noticed that like psych isn't just in the psych unit, psych in every different rotation you're gonna go on, and you could implement that anywhere. So that was a change for me, but I feel like you want to add something to that, but you wanted to.
Yeah, I would say just in your applications, just show who you are. If you're looking for one type of person, they're looking, like, our cohort is so diverse in every sort of way, and it's been amazing. I've probably learned more from our cohort than I have the classes, honestly. Like, they're just coming from every walk of life. So if you're, show who you are, and if, what's meant to be will be meant to be too, don't
Yeah.
put all your chips in one basket, like, you'll be where you belong.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I first applied, I really wanted to get into family planning and improving access both in the United States and internationally. And honestly, when you're in nursing school, it's just like everything will just like kind of fire off these light bulbs in your head, and you're like, maybe this, maybe that. And oh my gosh, like critical care sounds amazing, and search and rescue on a helicopter, like that's something you can do after this. You can be a psych nurse, you can do almost anything in nursing. It's incredible how many different avenues there are, and it's totally okay to switch throughout what you want to do, and nurses change their practice all the time, so there's so many options. When you get out, don't feel like you need to like pick now and change. All of us are changing our mind like every week sometimes, so
Yeah.
it's just a fun journey.
Yes, I just wanted to add to that, like for the future, I always loved to teach and I wanted to be a teacher. So I realized that with nursing, like you could be a nurse educator and you could actually apply to be a TA like in your second year for any classes that you did enjoy and teach like the newcomers. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing.
Yeah, I mean, yes to everything everyone's saying. I feel like you just get so much information and so much inspiration in this program. So if you go in with one goal, you kind of come out with another, and that's part of the ride. It's awesome. I think also just kind of on the topic of, someone was mentioning like, do you belong here and all this stuff? I think everyone that I've ever talked to in this program has some level of imposter syndrome, like I don't belong, my GPA is low or whatever. And just know that that is like the most common experience. So if you are able to like share your passion, show why you so badly want to be a nurse and be in this profession, like that's what they that's what they're looking for in the statements. So,
And we're all here to help you guys. So I know you're all coming in, and it's like you could always email us or find us on social media, and we're here to support you and get you through this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, for those out there that want to continue conversations with our MECN 2s, email me and then I'll reach out to you guys to see if it's okay if I give them your contact info. So I'll do that. And then the second thing I want to say is everything you guys were talking about was from an actual personal experience. And it was like you're also at the same time reiterating some of the answers I was given to them, because they were like, what does it take for me to get in? Or what does a typical student look like? And you guys were all saying everyone here is so diverse and everyone is so different. So it was really cool for me to say that. And then you guys literally just, right, double down on what I have to say. And so I really do hope that that really draws the attention for people that were here attending. And then also, I also want to thank you guys as well. As they all know out there in the Zoom land, you guys are literally still finishing up your summer quarter. So I know how busy you guys are. And I know you guys probably only have like a couple of weeks before the fall starts. So I just want to say thank you as well for you guys for joining us today. And yeah, that's going to conclude our session. And so I hope everyone got some good stuff out of this, and hoping to see some names come across the applications next month. And one last thing is, if you do have any questions for me or my team, feel free to shoot me an email. We can Zoom, we can do whatever it is. I just want you guys to feel comfortable as you guys are getting ready to embark on this new journey. But again, thank you guys all, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Bye.